In the late 1700s, America was still a young nation. Slavery was legal. Most black people were denied education. And yet, one man shattered every expectation placed upon him. He was a farmer, a mathematician, an astronomer, a clockmaker, and a man whose calculations helped shape the capital of the United States. His name was Benjamin Banneker, a self-taught genius born in colonial Maryland who would go on to challenge one of America's founding fathers about slavery, while proving through science and intellect that African Americans were equal in every way. Yet, despite helping shape a nation, Benjamin Banneker is rarely mentioned alongside the founding figures of American history. But his legacy helped build America itself. This is the story of Benjamin Banneker.
Chapter 1. Born Free in a Slave Society. Benjamin Banneker was born on November 9, 1731, in Baltimore County, Maryland. At the time, the American colonies were deeply dependent on slavery. For most black people living in colonial America, freedom was impossible. But Benjamin's story began differently. His mother, Mary Banneker, was a free black woman. His father, Robert, was a formerly enslaved African man from Guinea who had purchased his freedom. Together, the family owned a 100-acre farm in the Patapsco Valley. That fact alone was extraordinary. Land ownership by black families in colonial America was incredibly rare. And unlike many children of his era, Benjamin had access to books, learning, and the freedom to explore ideas. But formal education? Very little. Banneker was largely self-taught. No university, no elite tutors, no scientific academy. Just curiosity, discipline, and an extraordinary mind. As a child, he became fascinated with numbers, patterns, and the natural world. While others saw an ordinary farm boy, Benjamin Banneker was quietly becoming one of the greatest intellectual minds of early America.
Chapter 2. The Wooden Clock That Amazed America. Around the age of 21, Benjamin Banneker built something remarkable. A wooden clock. Now, today, that may not sound revolutionary, but in colonial America, precision clocks were rare and incredibly difficult to make. Banneker reportedly borrowed a pocket watch, carefully studied its mechanics, and then recreated the entire system out of carved wood. Every gear, every wheel, every moving part, crafted by hand. The clock struck every hour, and according to historical accounts, it continued working for decades. The achievement stunned many who saw it. Remember, this was a man with almost no formal training. No engineering school, no apprenticeship, no technical manuals. Only observation and intellect. The clock became one of the earliest signs that Benjamin Banneker possessed an extraordinary mechanical and mathematical genius. But he was only getting started. Soon, his attention would turn toward the stars.
Chapter 3. Mastering the Stars. In the 1770s, a Quaker family named the Ellicotts moved near Banneker's farm. The Ellicotts were mill owners, businessmen, and strong supporters of education. Unlike many white Americans of the time, they respected Banneker's intelligence. One of them, George Ellicott, loaned Banneker books on astronomy, mathematics, and celestial navigation. For Benjamin Banneker, these books opened an entirely new universe. Night after night, he studied the movement of stars, planets, and eclipses. He performed complex calculations by hand. No computers, no calculators, only mathematics. Soon, Banneker began predicting solar eclipses and planetary alignments with astonishing accuracy. He compiled his findings into detailed astronomical calculations known as ephemerides. These calculations formed the basis of almanacs. In the 1700s, almanacs were essential tools. Farmers used them to track seasons. Sailors used them for navigation.
Communities relied on them for weather forecasts and astronomical events. Producing one required advanced scientific knowledge, and Benjamin Banneker was now doing exactly that. A black farmer in colonial America had become a respected astronomer.
Chapter 4. Helping Survey the Nation's Capital. In 1791, the young United States faced a major task. The nation needed a permanent capital city. Secretary of State Thomas Jefferson appointed Major Andrew Ellicott to survey the new federal district that would become Washington, D.C. And Andrew Ellicott hired Benjamin Banneker to assist with the project. For a black man in the 1700s, this was almost unimaginable. Banneker joined the surveying team near Georgetown. His role likely involved astronomical observations and calculations used to establish precise boundary points. Surveyors relied heavily on the stars to determine accurate positions on Earth. Banneker's mathematical expertise made him uniquely valuable. Together, the survey team marked the boundaries of what would become the capital of the United States. Boundary stones were placed mile by mile around the district. Some still exist today. Although historians continue to debate the exact extent of Banneker's contributions, there is no question that he participated in one of the most important surveying projects in American history. A self-taught black astronomer helped shape the physical foundation of America's capital. But Benjamin Banneker's greatest challenge to America was still ahead, and it would come in the form of a letter. Chapter 5. The Letter to Thomas Jefferson. In 1791, Benjamin Banneker completed his first published almanac. But he did more than send it to printers. He sent a copy directly to Thomas Jefferson, along with a letter. And what Banneker wrote was bold, very bold. At the time, Jefferson publicly spoke about liberty and equality, but he also enslaved hundreds of people. Banneker challenged him directly. In his letter, Banneker reminded Jefferson that African Americans were human beings deserving of freedom and dignity. He urged Jefferson to confront the hypocrisy of slavery in a nation founded on liberty. Banneker wrote, "We are all of one flesh and endowed by the same almighty being." It was one of the most powerful intellectual challenges ever made by a black American during the founding era. And Banneker backed his argument with evidence. His almanac, his scientific work, his intellect. His existence itself contradicted racist assumptions about black inferiority. Jefferson replied politely and even sent Banneker's almanac to the French Academy of Sciences. But Jefferson's views on race and slavery remained deeply contradictory. Still, Banneker's letter became a historic moment. A black scientist publicly demanding equality from one of America's most powerful men. Decades before the Civil War, decades before emancipation, Benjamin Banneker was already forcing America to confront its contradictions. Chapter 6. The Almanacs that Made Him Famous. Between 1792 and 1797, Benjamin Banneker published a series of almanacs. These works included astronomical calculations, eclipse predictions, weather information, tide tables, medical and farming references. His publications circulated throughout the Mid-Atlantic region. Many abolitionists celebrated Banneker as proof of African American intellectual achievement. At a time when racist pseudoscience claimed black people were inferior, Banneker's work stood as undeniable evidence to the contrary. He became internationally known. Newspapers praised him, scholars respected him, and ordinary Americans marveled at his brilliance. Yet despite his fame, Banneker remained humble. He continued living on his Maryland farm, studying, writing, observing the heavens.
Chapter 7. Death, Fire, and Legacy. Benjamin Banneker died on October 19, 1806, at the age of 74. And on the very day of his funeral, tragedy struck. A fire destroyed much of his home. Many of his papers, journals, and inventions were lost forever.
Historians still wonder how much knowledge disappeared in those flames. Over time, Banneker became a legendary figure. Some stories about his life were exaggerated. Others became difficult to verify. But the core truth remains undeniable. Benjamin Banneker was one of the most remarkable intellectuals of early America. A self-taught black scientist who mastered astronomy. A mathematician who published best-selling almanacs. A surveyor connected to the creation of Washington, D.C. And a courageous voice for racial equality during the founding of the United States. Today, schools, parks, streets, and monuments bear his name. But perhaps his greatest legacy is this. Benjamin Banneker proved that genius can rise from places society least expects. And in doing so, he helped leave behind a legacy America could never erase.
Coming up next on the Hidden Black Legacy Project. Every day, billions of people rely on GPS, but almost no one knows the name of the woman who helped make it possible. Born into segregation, raised on a Virginia farm, she used mathematics to help solve one of the greatest scientific challenges of the modern world. Her calculations helped create the precise map of Earth that GPS depends on today. The remarkable story of Gladys Brown West, the hidden genius behind GPS.
The story doesn't end here. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to the Hidden Black Legacy Project. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode and help bring hidden history to light.